This is the story of a man and a deer, a hunter and the hunted. And to quote the great outdoor writer Stephen Renewal, this story has got a hell of a lot going for it, simply because it's a hunting story. And that's true. But this is also a human story. This is a story of struggle, of discovery, and of perseverance. This is a story of dedication, of doubt, and of hope. This is the story of a man and a deer, of me and Six Shooter. This story of me and the deer known as Six Shooter began 3 years ago when I made the move from metropolitan eastern Michigan to the Corn Belt of the Mitten State, just north of the Ohio border. After hunting across the north, west, and eastern edges of my home state, I was thrilled to finally be heading to the big buck counties of the South. The first property I got access to in this area, surprisingly, has become my best, but this didn't happen by chance. Right away, I began hard work to improve this property and understand how to hunt it. I also began placing trail cameras, and the first big buck I photographed was him, Six Shooter. And so, the story began. When the 2011 season finally arrived, I excitedly hit the woods on this property, with hopes of seeing the buck I'd named Six Shooter. Fortunately, I didn't have to wait long.
Well, it's somewhere around 10 o'clock, and one of our shooters, named him Six Shooter, is just bedded down about 90 yards away in some kind of CRP grass up there. He's just a stone's throw away. I can kind of see him. He's in this grass, and the grass blows, or if he moves his head, you can see his antlers. And he had bedded out in this field just toward north. And then around 11:30 or noon, he had got up and walked off and disappeared. Well, we got back in here around 3:30-ish today. And I've been sitting here for a couple hours. Around 5:20, I looked back over there and standing in the exact same spot where he was bedded last time. There's Six Shooter again. It's just over that way. Well, I filmed them for like 20 seconds. I figured I better grab my bow, so I turned, pulled my bow off the hanger. And when I turned around, he was gone again. He's a ghost. He's in this really tall CRP grass. And as soon as he beds down, you just can't see a thing. So I'm assuming he's still right out there, about 90, 100 yards out. I can't tell where I've been scanning with my binoculars, but just can't spot him, but he's out there somewhere.
After these initial encounters with Six Shooter, I became obsessed with trying to figure out how to close the distance on him. Unfortunately, after many hunts and failed ambushes, I had yet to put eyes on him. Early November 2011 arrived with a fanfare, but quickly faded into despair. And as my week of rut hunting vacation was about to wrap up, doubt had begun to creep into my subconscious, like smoke slipping in under a doorframe. It wasn't until the cold, wet evening of November 7th that hope finally came again. And after sitting through a biting, near horizontal rain for most of the day, my body finally warmed late that evening when a dark shape materialized out of the tall, swaying swamp grass. Energy surged once again through my body. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest as the tall white tines became clear in my vision. It was 6-shooter. Unfortunately, because of the pounding rain, I couldn't get the camera out. But nonetheless, there he was, heading straight for me. As he moved through that tall swamp grass, my excitement turned to despair as I saw that he was horribly injured. Every step seemed to take a monumental effort, and honestly I thought that at any moment he might collapse. As I watched him there actually fall down behind a blown over tree, light slowly faded, and it seemed like this would be the end of the story. I even returned the next day, fearing that he had died nearby, and I searched but never could find any sign of him. So, the 2011 season continued, no more sightings, and the story of 6-shooter concluded. 2012 arrived, and a few new bucks had taken up residence, but still, no 6-shooter. And I resigned myself to the fact that he must have passed, so I moved on. I did have success that year out of state though. Unfortunately, still had yet to close the deal on a mature buck on my original property in Michigan. So as 2013 arrived, I set my sights on this as my top goal. With that in mind, I got to work improving the property and preparing locations. I improved bedding areas, cleared new paths, tweaked tree stands, and eventually put in 3 food plots. I've just been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So here we are. I've been scrambling, trying to get tree stands up, trying to get lanes cut, trying to get stuff ready, food plots. It's just been chaos, and I'm doing my best to get everything done, but we're getting tight on time here. On top of habitat work, I also was hard at it trying to find shed antlers on this property. Unfortunately, luck was not with me. That is until turkey season arrived. While scouting for turkeys in April, I nearly stepped on a shining ivory spire emerging from the leaves, a shed. After pulling it out of the ground, I was shocked. It was a shed, yes, but not just any shed. It was 6-shooter's shed. And I found this in April while turkey hunting. Now, this is his shed though from 2011. All it tells me really is that he made it through the 2011 hunting season. I did not see him at all last year, but I don't know. No doubt about it. He had survived the 2011 season after all. My mind was blown, and hope was renewed that he may still be around. Now, in addition to the work on the property and shed hunting, I also, of course, began taking inventory with trail cameras. That summer, a number of great deer were popping up on camera, but one really unique one caught my eye. With a nearly foot-long bladed brow tine, this deer was unlike anything I'd ever seen in Michigan before, and we quickly dubbed him Unibrow. Little did I know at the time, this buck in fact belonged to a different name. Well, I've been checking out trail camera pictures and was getting nervous. We are almost to the end of the trail cam card here and hadn't been seeing a lot of bucks, but finally started getting some good ones here in September. And actually here in one of these pictures, I got 2 of my hit list bucks in the same picture. I've got Unibrow and Leaner in the same pic. Pretty sweet, you got them staring each other down right there. A couple great Michigan bucks. On the eve of bow season here in Michigan, while doing some long-range scouting, I happened to catch Unibrow crossing a clearing and headed straight towards one of my food plots. As exciting as this was, the ultimate surprise came afterwards while reviewing the footage. As a friend and I looked at the video of Unibrow browsing in the tall grass, we were both struck with the same revelation. This deer in this scene looked exactly like 6-shooter did in the same grass 2 seasons before. I was sitting up on a hill and could look over an open field and a power line and saw this buck cruise across. I got good footage of him. It's a buck we've been calling unibrow. He's got one huge long brow, kind of like a unicorn, so we call him unibrow. Well, I've been getting a lot of trail camera pictures of him too, and I had this video and I showed a couple friends and posted some pictures online. And a couple of my buddies were saying, hey man, that looks a lot like a buck you were hunting a few years ago. And that buck's 6-shooter. And the more I keep looking at pictures, and my past video of 6-shooter, now this video of unibrow, the more I'm thinking that there might be a chance it's the same deer. And if it is, that would blow my mind. Unibrow's left side in 2013 was almost identical to 6-shooters in 2011. The right side, though, was noticeably shorter. That said, injuries to the back leg of a deer typically affect growth for the opposite side antler, and I believe that's what happened here. In life, a book or a story, context makes all the difference. And in this case, it certainly did. With this crazy idea now in our heads, we went back and looked at past videos and trail camera pictures of 6-shooter and compared them to unibrow. And as unbelievable as it was, there was no doubt about it. 6-shooter was back. And so, the season began. Every day, every hunt, nearly every moment, 6-shooter was on my mind.
I gotta give you guys fair warning. If by the grace of God, 6-shooter does come in here tonight and I get a shot at him, there's a very good chance I might just totally break down and freak out. I've had so much history of that deer, and this year it worked harder than ever, and it's been a crazy year. And if it came together, I'd just be blown away. Something just spooked a bunch of deer out of the cornfield, I think, to the south of here. A bunch of does came running out and I saw another deer pull up my binocs. And it was him. I believe that 6-shooter bedded out in that CRP right there. He had some corn stuck in his antlers and stuff, so he did just what he used to do 2 years ago and headed to that CRP and bedded down, so trying to keep an eye on where he was. He disappeared now, but he's down, I think, low in this tall grass, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on over there and hopefully he decides to come our way. Well, it is October 31st, Halloween, and about to head out for the evening sit, but it's looking like it's going to be a pretty nasty one. We've got pouring rain, heavy winds, and warm temperatures, so not looking like the best conditions for our hunt tonight, but I'm going to prepare to get wet and make the best of tonight. So we'll see how it goes. It'll definitely be interesting, that's for sure. stud of a buck. Came in through this swamp here, passed by about 80 yards probably. I'm shaking like crazy. I don't know if it's just from being cold and wet more than nerves, but either way I'm pumped up. It was great to see him. I'm sitting here and I'm just freezing cold, soaking wet. But after having that encounter with 6-shooter, it just reminds me how much I love this stuff. I just get a real kick out of these big deer. Gotta love it. It's nasty out here.
After the 2 encounters with 6-shooter in October, I hunted the whole first half of November for him, but with no more sightings. That said, he continued to pop up on trail camera, and I knew that it could happen at any time. While I had many close calls with great bucks in Michigan and Ohio, I'd yet to get all of the pieces to come together. And after hundreds of hours on stand, I was getting pretty disheartened.
I just can't catch a break. I've worked so hard for this and I cannot get it to come together.
Had I let my only chances slip through my fingers? As hope was waning in early December, I finally took the trip to Ohio again to hopefully cash in on a gun season buck. It seemed like it was my last best hope. Got some good news last night. I went and checked my trail cameras on my best property here in Michigan. Well, it's official. I have the best wife in the world. I'm heading out here right now tonight to actually go check some trail cameras. I wanted to wait till the middle of the night till most of the deer moved off my property. I'm going to drive out my truck out to these different trail camera locations I have on the edge of these fields and check the camera and then put a little bit of corn out there, hopefully get some more pictures. And my wife was so kind to join me.
Is it true that the cool kids all have headlamps?
Cool kids do have headlamps.
Mm-hmm.
My plan worked out. My plan was to stay off this best spot all throughout the gun season in Michigan because I really wanted to try to help a couple of these good bucks have a sanctuary to get to when all the other hunters are out on the other properties. And it worked. My top 2 bucks, Leaner and 6-shooter, are alive and well and still on my property. I got a ton of pictures of them over the past 3 weeks. They're all over the place and feeling good. So once we finish up this Ohio trip, it's going to be back to Michigan and hunting those big boys with a muzzleloader. Hope maybe I can get some late season success in Ohio and Michigan. Well, there's a blizzard hitting southern Ohio right now, and it looks like we are just about to drive into it. We'll be set up and hunting in a few hours. Looks like it's about to get dicey.
Raining, it's freezing rain and now almost snowing here in southern Ohio. It's December 6th, and I headed down here because of this big cold front hitting. Well, I got down here and I was in a stand on the edge of this field where I saw a jawbreaker a few days ago. And because of all this freezing rain, the tree steps going in that tree stand are completely covered in ice. I cannot climb up into that tree. I fall every time I try. So I went to another tree stand, try that one. That's all frozen, icy too. So finally I decided there's no way I'm getting up into a tree without killing myself. So I'm sitting on the edge of the field, standing next to a tree. My camera arm on a tree, I got an umbrella up above me, and I'm just standing here on the edge of the field. Not ideal at all, but at least I'm gun hunting, so I got a little better chance. And who knows? Sometimes it's these crazy nights like this that end up turning out well. So I'm gonna try to stay dry, try to stay still, and maybe get lucky. believe that just happened. I just got shot at a great big buck. I haven't even looked at the footage yet. I think it might have been Jawbreaker. And I missed. Twice. Well, I just blew it. Came in, he looked like he was 100 yards away. Pulled the camera out, got the gun ready, fired. He just stopped and looked around, didn't look like I got a good hit on him. So I loaded up another one. He still stood there waiting around and put the crosshairs right in his shoulder. But nothing. I went out there right away because it was snowing so much to see if I could find any blood. No blood at all. I followed his track all the way through this finger timber and all the way across this field, like 500 yards. No blood at all. I really blew it. I'm just sick to my stomach. I just can't believe it.
After missing the great 8-pointer in Ohio, I returned home with a heavy heart. Still, hope lived on, as I knew that Leaner and 6-shooter were still roaming my property. And on December 11th, the conditions were just right to try my first hunt on this property. Now we'll be going in and hopefully see the buck who used to own this shed right here. 6-shooter.
And I'm in here hunting my best property in Michigan for the first time since before gun season on November 14th. My 2 top bucks on this farm both made it through the firearm season. I got pictures of them in December, so feeling good about my chances here. There's been no pressure on the farm. I got lots of good late season food, a cut cornfield. I got a whitetail and stew wintergreens food plot here right next to me, and another couple food plots a couple hundred yards away. This should be keeping deer in the area. So the weather's perfect. It's in the teens, with wind chill down the single digits, and we had a couple inches of snow today. So everything's lining up for tonight to be a pretty good hunt. So I'm excited. Hopes are high, and it's 2:45. I'm gonna settle in here. Hopefully, I have one of the big boys show up in the next couple hours. Fingers crossed. Got a group of deer walking in. A couple bucks and some does. One of the bucks is a 6-shooter. After that, I keep coming our way.
Things were just about as perfect as you could ask for, and the deer were definitely moving. But despite another great encounter with a 6-shooter, I just couldn't get a shot. I hunted the next 4 evenings and endured hours of howling wind and snow, as if stuck in a child's snow globe on Christmas morning. Despite my stubborn perseverance, he would not show. And as the endless snow and cold of a deep Michigan winter settled in around me, I began to feel the 2013 season wistfully slipping away. It wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't in the cards. I began to feel like it was probably time to move on. That is until the evening of December 16th. I'm just tired of freezing out there. And I wasn't going to go hunting tonight. I'm pretty worn out, getting cold, but my wife convinced me that I should be getting out there tonight. Gotta keep on grinding. So that wind finally died down after the past 2 days of snow and wind, so maybe that's the deer waiting on to move. With a beautiful snowy evening to thank, the night's hunt was a memorable one. This was a new location, so I was forced to hunt on the ground, kneeling behind an old ottoman and a tree. Unfortunately, for this reason, I wasn't able to film most of the evening's events without being seen. As the sun slowly moved towards the horizon, I watched a steady flow of does move through the woods and filter across the cornfield. Soon, deer were all around me, and numerous young bucks were popping out as well. Finally, with 20 minutes of daylight left, there he was. 6-shooter had appeared. Unfortunately, he was much too far away, but I watched and waited and held on to hope as the minutes counted down. Eventually, though, just before camera light faded, he re-entered the woods and disappeared, heading away from me. Once again, 6-shooter had walked out of my life, and I assumed the evening hunt was done. But it wasn't. As camera light faded away, I figured the hunt was done, and I started to pack up my gear. Before I did that, though, I had to relieve myself and use the wilderness restroom known as the tree next to me. So, stood up, and unbelievably, in the middle of my business, a dark shape emerged 30 or 40 yards away from me. I took a look. I saw the big body, the thick neck, this blocky head, and these wide, wrapping antlers that seemed to reach towards the sky. Immediately, I knew it was him. It was 6-shooter. I don't know how he got there again, so much closer, but there he was. So, slowly leaned over, reached for my gun, and he caught me. We looked, eyes connected, and I thought it might be done for, but somehow he kept on. And as I slowly pulled up my gun, rested the muzzleloader on my shoulder, and found 6-shooter in my scope. All the hours, days, weeks, and months of hard work had led up to this moment. All the perseverance, the struggle, the anticipation had led up to this brief flicker in time. And then I fired. And as the smoke cleared, couldn't see anything at all, really. Just could hear deer crashing through the timber. And as soon as I heard the silence, I actually ran straight out to where I took that shot. And it had only been maybe 30 or 40 yards away. I knew I needed to see if I'd made that shot. It happened so quickly. I checked and looked for blood, and looked and looked and looked, and it was snow. I should have been able to see blood easily, but I couldn't. So I started tracking the tracks that I could follow as far as possible. Still, nothing. And after 15, 20, 25 minutes, I started getting really worried. I eventually backtracked, thinking I should start from the beginning again. At this point, was feeling kind of awful. But there it was. Just when I'd almost given up hope, I saw a small fleck of red. And I'm kind of colorblind, so I was pretty fortunate that I saw that. But there was a little tiny dot of blood. And then another, and then another. And I was left with just a small glimmer of hope. So at that point, I decided it was time to go home and get reinforcements. After a couple hours and a dinner of venison enchiladas that I hardly remember tasting, we headed back to begin the search. Everything had come down to this. All right, well, it's been a couple hours since I took that shot at 6-shooter, and we're getting a lot of snow, so we want to get out here soon. Wasn't able to find very much blood after the shot, so we called my buddy Andy, who's got a tracking dog. So we're back here, we're on a little bit of blood, and we're gonna hopefully do some tracking and find that buck.
That's not.
You're
Let's
not
see.
messing with it, right?
Just watch the dog work.
Oh my God, that's it.
Watch the dog work.
Oh my God.
Good girl, Junebug. Good girl. Get in there and get your hands on that buck. Good girl, Junebug.
We got him.
Look at that. Good girl,
I
Junebug.
cannot believe this.
Good girl, Junebug.
Congrats, buddy.
Holy crap. Oh
Told you we were gonna find it.
my goodness gracious.
You've only hunted 97 days this year for him.
Thank you, Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I got it. He busted off his split here.
oh, you did too. Good job, Mark.
Oh
My favorite thing is about all the technology and stuff that you have in the spot that you were sitting is perfect. Look at that buck. God, that's a good girl.
We just unbelievably found 6-shooter. I got a shot at him, but couldn't hardly find any blood, so I was worried that the hit wasn't good. But we were blessed today and we found him. The shot was actually really good. Hit him right in the shoulder, right pretty much where I was aiming, and he didn't run probably 120 yards. This is a buck that I believe I've been hunting for 3 years. We call him 6-shooter, and I saw him first as a 3.5-year-old. He was a big 6, and I thought he actually died because the last time I saw him he was seriously injured. I didn't see him at all the next year, but this year he popped back up again. This left side is very much like what he had 2 years ago. So he's a 5.5-year-old deer, and I've just been hunting so hard this year. This is like my 70th hunt of the year, and unbelievably it came together. I didn't think, I'd kind of almost given up on the season, and somehow it all came together. I don't know what to say. We got him. We got definitely the most mature buck I've ever killed. Best Michigan buck ever. Just an incredible brow time, and he's just a stud. Huge bodied deer. I'm just tickled. Just absolutely tickled. This season has been unlike any other I've experienced. The many close calls, the missed opportunities, the highs and lows, ups and downs. It's been a season that I'll never forget, and truly it's been a roller coaster. And for it to end this way, it's fulfilled me in ways I could never imagine. As I sat next to 6-shooter on that snowy December evening, I couldn't help but think back on the many memories this buck had provided over the past 3 years. The hopes and dreams, the frustrations and challenges, a million moments that led to this final finale. A hunting season is just that, a series of moments, a montage of sunrises and sunsets, a roller coaster of emotions. And in this moment, all was well. Now, after reflecting back on the hunt and experiencing life after 6-shooter, I realized that this journey never had a proper closure. I never got to say goodbye. So, goodbye, 6-shooter. Thank you for the memories, for the struggle, and for the challenge, for making me a better hunter and a more persistent man. Thank you for the memory of that first moment when the sun shone upon your antlers and caught my eye on that early October morning. Thank you for that November evening when you kept my hopes alive after a long, sopping wet day. Thank you for that Halloween night and the rush that coursed through my body when you pulled your heavy rack from the tangles of the swamp and shook off the freezing rain. And finally, thank you for that December evening when all hope had nearly faded. Thank you, my old friend. Goodbye.